We have a guest joining us, Natalia Pelevina, opposition politician and member of the Political Council of the Parnas Party. Natalia, welcome to the Freedom Broadcast.
Hello, thank you very much.
Bloomberg recently wrote that the level of losses at the front could somehow change the negotiation process. The negotiation process? But not in the sense that Putin will start regretting the loss of so many lives. Assaults. But just recently we spoke with Igor Yakovenko, a Russian journalist and sociologist. He doesn't believe that Putin cares at all about the level of losses in the Russian army. Nevertheless, what do you think? How much could one be connected to the other? The level of losses and the negotiation process.
Well, I agree with Igor Yakovenko that the level of losses does not affect Vladimir Putin emotionally in any way. Another matter is that if he wants to keep fighting, he needs to replenish the ranks of those who remain there, meaning the irrecoverable, these losses. It was possible to do this for a while, but how long it will actually continue is hard to say. Just yesterday, someone sent me a video, a bus with some men from India dressed in military uniforms, and there was some woman accompanying them, and they were all singing something like Kalinka, Malinka, or something like that. And an acquaintance of mine wrote to me saying, they say they're going somewhere for some kind of assignment or something, but actually it looks like they're being sent to the front. So I think they're resorting to all sorts of means and resources, so to speak, in order to replenish their ranks. In the long run, if Putin continues to push this insane nonsense of his and stubbornly stick to his course, if he keeps forcing it through, then of course he'll have to resort to all sorts of tricks. Again, there are all kinds of people who still live in Russia and are of conscription age. People tell me, I specifically talk to them to get information, of course. They say, listen, if there's another mobilization, there will be more of those crazy lines again. Lines at the border with Kazakhstan and other countries, just like last time when there was a mobilization. That is, most in fact, already understand what this war is, what the losses are, how high the chances of not coming back alive, and they won't want to go. Apparently, for this very reason, there are fewer and fewer people. There are fewer men who, thank you, refuse even the money they're promised for going to fight. So in this sense, of course, Putin's resource is gradually being depleted. It's not that it's completely run out yet, though. Again, there is still some left. There are these countries that apparently will continue to send their people. North Korea, for example, and even India might already be doing this, although, of course, that's unconfirmed information. But again, the question is for how long? So the question isn't how much he's losing, but how he can compensate for those losses. And that's what he'll base his decisions on. That's how he'll calculate things. He definitely won't be thinking about it anymore. 4 years later, that so many of ours are dying, that simply isn't a factor for Putin at all. But how to replenish the ranks to at least keep going at the same pace, and the offensive, as they believe they're still advancing, that's a big question. And by the way, many have noticed that it's been quite a long time now. He hasn't appeared on screen to talk about how everything is going so well for him at the front, about the so-called heroes of the special military operation.
About the so-called heroes of the special military operation. Well, you made a good point, yes, India. But India, Africa, they won't really save the situation. The numbers there are small. There might be a certain propaganda element here. Yes, people are refusing to fight for money. Yes, the regions are reducing payments. Prisons are emptying out, by the way. The resource is already running out. They're afraid to send conscripts because there have already been precedents, incidents, and so on. What might this hidden mobilization look like? What other loopholes could the Kremlin use to avoid those lines at the border, as you mentioned?
Well, they're actively coercing immigrants to sign these contracts under an immense amount of psychological pressure, as one might describe the situation. This has been happening for a long time already. And they still go to prisons. That's also well known.
The police, I suppose, are also doing a good job in this regard. They work in tandem with the military enlistment offices regarding detainees, and immediately, along with the charges, offer them to sign a contract.
Yes. All of this is happening. Plus, at the same time, people are randomly receiving draft notices as well, just at random. A person gets really scared of some consequences. They go to the military enlistment office, or maybe they don't lose their mind and don't go, or maybe they'll try to hide or even hope that they'll just forget about this draft notice. Well, in other words, it's creeping, like many people call this mobilization. It's been happening in one way or another all these years, and it's still happening. I think that to come out on screen again and basically admit that things are so bad that we're announcing a full scale mass mobilization, I don't think he'll do that. More likely, he'll just let it happen quietly behind the scenes. There will be an order for a certain number of people, and they'll try to fill those ranks with the resources and means we've just been discussing. But of course, the further it goes, the fewer such opportunities remain. Even just mathematically, that's how it works. So, as for how long this resource will last, since of course no one has exact numbers, we can't say for sure whether it will be enough for another 3 months, 6 months, or a year. It's hard to say. But the resource is definitely being depleted. That's 100% certain.
At one time, Volodymyr Zelensky said that Putin is considering the possibility of making a temporary pause in the war. And now in the Kremlin, they're looking for some kind of, universal solution. How to sell this pause to Russians as a victory. So, from your point of view, what could Putin sell to Russians as a victory if in fact everyone knows the truth, even Z-bloggers up to ordinary Russians, reasonable people, believe that Putin simply has no victories at the front at all?
Well, that's the peculiarity of a dictatorship. You can say whatever you want, and people will accept it. They will accept it. And there won't be any questions from the public, let alone from journalists. You could, so to speak, catch a piglet, show it on screen, say, we've been chasing it for 4 years and now we finally caught it, reached our goal. This is our victory. This is a job well done. I'm exaggerating on purpose now just to make the absurdity clear. But he can present anything at all as an accomplished fact. This is what we were working toward. And seeing the state, according to independent polls, which I periodically look at with absolute horror, the people are in a state of complete mindlessness. They simply don't understand anything at all anymore, how the world works, what Russia is doing. They just don't understand anything at all. That's the feeling, and it's absolutely genuine. They weren't paid for these answers. And this is completely sincere. People believe that basically what? That Ukraine almost attacked Russia from the very beginning. I mean, it's just a complete reversal of consciousness. So, yes, this majority, this completely brainwashed, dumbed down group, and not just over these past 4 years, but even before that, a lot of work was done in this direction. Whatever they're told, that's what they'll repeat. Yes, we're great. There's just a small number of people. They'll simply say, listen, what was that all about anyway? These are just a handful of people who usually aren't present in the information space. They haven't been allowed there for a long time. People who think freely and analyze things. So this won't affect anything. Basically, for the sake of victory, he can sell anything at all. And the fact is, he needs a pause, and most likely in the foreseeable future. In this regard, it's possible that there really will be a break after all. There really might be a ceasefire, that is, a halt to the fighting for at least some period of time. These are the circumstances that Putin may not be in just yet, but will find himself in soon, and this could lead to that outcome. Another matter is that, of course, you can't trust him or think that this is in any way final. A settled issue. Unfortunately, of course, we can't think of it that way. There are a lot of nuances, a lot that still needs to be discussed further with the West, which of course must provide every possible guarantee to Ukraine before anything else. All of this. The further plan, how the truce will actually be implemented, without serious guarantees, this is impossible. But I think that's what he's aiming for. I think he already wants to somehow gradually get out of this difficult situation. And as I already said, I think he himself understands that he can sell practically anything as a victory. And the people will rejoice, some of them, while others will simply say, well, thank God it's over. Those who from the very beginning weren't particularly enthusiastic about this war anyway.
The sobering of Russians. Can you imagine an awakening like what happened to the Germans after Hitler? Or is that impossible under the current government, under Putin, with this level of propaganda?
I think about this all the time, a lot, because this is a key point. What will happen to the people after all this? Nothing will change under Putin. It's impossible. Under Putin, the same narrative will persist. It will always be interpreted in favor of this regime. So the people won't come to the truth on their own. They already aren't doing that. So that means there has to be a change of power. After the change of power, it's already clear that there will be some kind of turmoil. Who knows what exactly? But the first sprouts of truth will start to appear, to emerge. A window of opportunity might open for people with different political views, and then something new will begin to surface, some other waves within this society. But I can't imagine how much time will have to pass before society as a whole, not just a few individuals, truly realizes what they've done, to put it mildly, what they've done, and what kind of hell it was. What a terrible guilt lies on them for this. And I am absolutely convinced that the concept of collective guilt exists. Not criminal guilt, but this responsibility of conscience. And when they are the majority, it will never be. There will never be 100% who accept this. But for a significant number of people to realize it, I think it will take decades. Because all these people who return from this war, their families will be around for a very long time. They will, of course, deny that it was all a crime. There will be a lot of painful emotions in society about this topic. That's why it's a very, very, very long process. But if it succeeds, it will be Russia's only chance to somehow survive and continue to exist.
Let's talk about the negotiation track. And Moscow is trying to offer Trump some economic perks. This happened in Istanbul, but at that time, Trump categorically stated that until the issue with Ukraine is resolved, there would be no economic contacts. Now they're persistently talking about Dmitriev's package worth $12 billion. In your opinion, to what extent can the negotiation track and the resolution of all issues related to the war, so to speak, be undermined by Russians? I mean, the Kremlin with these economic flirtations with Trump.
They can do it quite seriously because they're more cunning than he is. He's a narcissist. He basically suffers from a clinical form of narcissism. Mentally, he's unstable. I'm actually putting it mildly right now. He's an unbalanced person, and that's why the approaches come from very different positions. The Russian side is cunningly. There is one more significant point that is closely related to this specific expression. They are ultimate pragmatists. They are hardened cynics. And they are highly skilled in the art of knowing exactly how to bend, how to pressure, and how to bribe others, and so on and so forth. Yes, somewhere they use blackmail, somewhere else something different. Now, how applicable blackmail is in Trump's case, we don't know, although there are many theories that he's been on the hook for a long time and all that. I think he's probably not on the hook. He's just a rather stupid person, but cunning and knows how to manipulate people like himself. And those are, without a doubt, these Russian representatives. I think this is exactly that kind of case. And that's why it's clear that they, in many cases, and unfortunately, over the past year, we have seen this happen repeatedly, they managed to pressure him over to their side. Again, we don't know for sure exactly how this was done. We can only guess. But do they often have leverage in this regard? Success, they, it seems to me, feel quite comfortable in this. Generally speaking, they feel that they can always, yes, if they really need to, get their way with him. And someone working together with them advises them on what to pressure, what to say, what kind of narrative to send him, so that he once again takes Russia's side, once again says that Zelensky is wrong about everything, and so on. Unfortunately, this is the situation we have right now. There's a chance that in the near future, Trump won't have time for any of this at all. They say it's neither good nor bad, but he'll be forced to focus on domestic politics because the elections are coming up soon and things are looking very bad for the Republicans. So it's possible that his attention will shift entirely there, away from foreign policy. Well, let's see what happens there. Before that, though, there's still time for some agreements involving America to be made. Honestly, I don't really believe in that because as a negotiator, the US looks pathetic right now, in my opinion.
Natalia, thank you for your opinion and thank you for joining our broadcast. Natalia Pelevina, opposition politician and member of the Political Council of the Parnas Party, was connected with our studio.